Sheikh Billionaire whispered in Mandarin to betray his partner. The waitress translated every word and froze the deal. The Azure Room restaurant in Manhattan glowed with soft amber lighting, crystal chandeliers casting dancing shadows across white linen tablecloths. Maya Chen moved silently between tables, her black uniform crisp and professional, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. At 25, she had perfected the art of invisibility, the skill every good server masters. She refilled water glasses, cleared plates, and smiled politely while the city's elite discussed deals worth more than she would earn in a lifetime. Table 12 was different tonight. Maya felt it the moment the reservation came through. Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid. The name alone made the restaurant manager nervous, checking every detail 3 times. When the sheikh arrived, the entire staff stood straighter. He entered like royalty, his custom Brioni suit fitting perfectly across broad shoulders, a Patek Philippe watch catching the light. 2 bodyguards flanked him, their eyes scanning the room with professional paranoia. Behind them walked James Morrison, a prominent American tech entrepreneur, looking considerably less comfortable. Maya was assigned to their table. Her hands trembled slightly as she approached, carrying the wine list. The sheikh didn't look at her, not once. His dark eyes, framed by a perfectly trimmed beard, remained fixed on Morrison as they discussed preliminary pleasantries. To him, Maya was furniture, a moving, breathing piece of the restaurant's decor. "Good evening, gentlemen," Maya said softly. "May I start you with something to drink?" Morrison smiled at her. "Thank you, yes. What do you recommend?" Before Maya could answer, Sheikh Khalid spoke without looking up from his phone. "Chateau Margaux 2015, 2 glasses." His accent was thick, his tone dismissive. "Not a request." "A command, of course, sir," Maya replied, retreating to the wine cellar. Her heart pounded as she descended the stairs. Columbia University felt like another lifetime ago. Her double degree in linguistics and international relations, her doctoral thesis on cross-cultural negotiation strategies, her fluency in 6 languages, all of it buried under the weight of betrayal. Richard's face flashed in her mind. Her ex-fiancé, the man who had stolen her research, published it under his name and destroyed her academic career before it could begin. The man who had made sure no university would believe her accusations. Maya blinked back tears, selected the wine, and returned to the surface. The evening progressed with mechanical precision. She served the Chateau Margaux, took their orders, dry-aged ribeye for Morrison, Mediterranean sea bass for the sheikh, and maintained her invisible presence. The 2 men discussed their joint venture, a $500 million deal combining Morrison's revolutionary solar panel technology with Sheikh Khalid's distribution networks across the Middle East and Asia. "This partnership will change the renewable energy landscape," Morrison said enthusiastically, his American optimism evident. "Your connections in Asia combined with my technology, we're looking at market domination within 3 years." Sheikh Khalid smiled, but Maya noticed it didn't reach his eyes. Indeed, a most profitable arrangement. As Maya served their entrees, she noticed the sheikh's assistant, a thin man in an expensive suit, lean closer. Then Sheikh Khalid did something that would change everything. He began speaking in Mandarin, his voice low, barely above a whisper. He assumed, like most powerful men assume, that no one around him could understand. But Maya understood every word. "Li Xiansheng, Ting Haola," the sheikh whispered. "Listen carefully, Mr. Li. After Morrison signs the contract tomorrow, we proceed with Phase 2. I want his technology specifications copied completely. Every patent, every prototype detail, every manufacturing process. Once we have everything, we restructure the partnership terms. He'll find himself with 30% equity instead of 50%, and no operational control. If he objects, we'll tie him up in international litigation for years. By the time the courts sort it out, we'll have already launched in 12 countries using his technology. He'll be bankrupt from legal fees before he can fight back." Maya's hands froze. The wine bottle she was holding tilted dangerously. A drop of red wine fell onto the white tablecloth like blood. The sheikh's eyes snapped to her face. For the first time that evening, he truly saw her. His gaze was sharp, calculating, searching. Maya's face had gone pale, her expression one of pure shock. She understood. He could see it in her eyes. "Ni ting dongle," he said in Mandarin, his voice cold. "You understood." The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Morrison looked between them, confused. "What's going on?" "What did you say?" Maya's mind raced. Every instinct screamed at her to stay silent, to remain invisible, to protect herself. She was just a waitress. These were billionaires, men with power beyond her imagination, men who could destroy her with a phone call. But she had already been destroyed once by staying silent, by trusting the wrong person, by believing that truth didn't matter as much as survival. Not again. Maya set down the wine bottle with deliberate care. She looked directly at Sheikh Khalid, her dark eyes meeting his without flinching. Then she spoke, her Mandarin flawless, her pronunciation perfect, her tone steady despite her racing heart. 是的，我听懂了每一个字, she said clearly. Yes, I understood every single word. The Sheikh's face darkened. Morrison leaned forward. Someone please tell me what the hell is happening. Maya switched to English, her voice gaining strength. Mr. Morrison, Sheikh al-Rashid just instructed his assistant in Mandarin. He believes you cannot understand the language. He outlined a plan to steal your technology after you sign the contract tomorrow. He intends to copy all your patents and specifications, then restructure the partnership to reduce your equity from 50% to 30% with no operational control. If you object, he plans to trap you in international litigation until you're bankrupt from legal fees. By then, he'll have launched your technology in 12 countries without proper compensation. The silence that followed was deafening. Every person at nearby tables had stopped eating, stopped talking, stopped breathing. Morrison's face went from confused to shocked to furious in the span of 3 seconds. Sheikh Khalid's expression transformed into something dangerous. You have no idea what you've just done, the Sheikh said quietly, his English suddenly perfect, his accent minimal. Who are you? Maya's hands were shaking now, but she stood her ground. I'm someone who understands 6 languages, Mr. al-Rashid, including every word you just said. Morrison stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This meeting is over. Khalid, you can forget the deal. Forget my technology. Forget everything. I'll be contacting my lawyers first thing tomorrow morning. He threw his napkin on the table and stormed toward the exit. Sheikh Khalid remained seated, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. The restaurant manager rushed over, apologizing profusely, but the Sheikh waved him away. Leave us, he commanded. Maya knew she should walk away. She had just cost this man $500 million. She had humiliated him in public. She had made an enemy of someone who could crush her without effort, but she had also done the right thing. For the first time in 2 years, since Richard had stolen everything from her, Maya had chosen truth over safety. What is your name? The Sheikh asked, his voice dangerously soft. Maya Chen. Maya Chen, he repeated as if memorizing it. You speak Mandarin like a native. Where did you learn? Columbia University. Double major in linguistics and international relations. I also speak Arabic, French, Russian, and Spanish, if you're curious. His eyebrow raised slightly. Columbia University. And yet you work as a waitress. The words stung because they were true. Life doesn't always go as planned, Mr. al-Rashid. No, he agreed, standing slowly. He was tall, imposing, his presence filling the space around him. It certainly doesn't. You've cost me a very profitable deal tonight. Miss Chen, you cost yourself the deal when you planned to commit fraud, Maya replied, surprising herself with her boldness. For a long moment they stared at each other. Then, unexpectedly, the Sheikh smiled. It was a real smile this time, reaching his eyes, transforming his face from intimidating to almost handsome. Interesting, he murmured. Very interesting. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, placing it on the table. I will be in New York for 2 more weeks. I suspect we will speak again, Maya Chen. He left without another word, his bodyguards and assistant following. The restaurant erupted in whispered conversations. Maya stood frozen, staring at the business card on the table, wondering if she had just made the best or worst decision of her life. Maya's apartment in Queens was a tiny studio, barely large enough for a bed, a desk, and a kitchenette. She sat on her bed at 2 in the morning, unable to sleep, replaying the evening over and over. The Sheikh's business card lay on her desk, elegant black lettering on cream cardstock. Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, CEO, Al-Rashid Energy Holdings. Her phone buzzed. A text from her manager. Need to see you tomorrow before your shift, important. Maya's stomach dropped. She was going to be fired. Of course she was. She had caused a scene, interfered with customers, cost the restaurant one of its most prestigious clients. She had been stupid to think truth mattered more than survival. She didn't sleep that night. When morning came, she dressed carefully in jeans and a simple blouse, preparing for the inevitable. The restaurant looked different in daylight, less magical, more ordinary. Her manager, Robert, waited in his office, his expression unreadable. Maya, sit down. She sat, hands folded in her lap, preparing for the blow. I got a call this morning, Robert said slowly. From Sheikh al-Rashid's office. Maya's heart sank further. I'm so sorry, Robert. I know I shouldn't have. He held up a hand. He wants to hire you. Maya blinked. What? He wants to hire you as a linguistic and cultural consultant. He's offering to pay the restaurant a consultation fee for releasing you from your contract, and he's offering you a salary that... Robert paused, shaking his head. Maya, it's more than I make in a year. What the hell happened last night? Maya couldn't speak. Her mind was spinning. This had to be a trap. Men like Sheikh Khalid didn't reward people who humiliated them. They destroyed them. I don't understand, she finally managed. Neither do I, Robert admitted. But his assistant is waiting in the dining room to speak with you. Maya, I don't know what you did, but whatever it was, it impressed someone very powerful. Be careful. The Sheikh's assistant, Mr. Lee, was the same thin man from last night. He stood when Maya entered, his expression neutral and professional. Miss Chen, Sheikh al-Rashid requests a meeting with you this afternoon at his hotel, the Peninsula. Suite 2501, 2 o'clock. Why? Maya asked bluntly. The Sheikh will explain. Will you come? Every rational part of Maya's brain screamed no. But curiosity and perhaps a tiny spark of hope made her nod. I'll be there. The Peninsula Hotel was a world away from Maya's Queen's studio. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, staff who moved with practiced elegance. Maya felt underdressed in her simple dress and flats, but she held her head high as she rode the elevator to the 24th floor. Sheikh Khalid answered the door himself. He had traded his formal suit for dark slacks and a white dress shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked younger, less intimidating, though his presence still commanded attention. Miss Chen, thank you for coming. Please sit. The suite was enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Maya perched on the edge of an elegant sofa, her posture rigid. I'll be direct, the Sheikh said, sitting across from her. I spent last night and this morning investigating you. I know about your degrees from Columbia. I know about your doctoral thesis on cross-cultural negotiation strategies. I know about Dr. Richard Chen and what he did to you. Maya's face flushed with humiliation. Then you know I'm not someone worth hiring. On the contrary, Khalid said, leaning forward. I know you're someone who chose integrity over safety, someone who speaks 6 languages fluently, someone who understands the nuances of international business and cultural communication, someone who, despite being betrayed and destroyed professionally, still had the courage to do the right thing when it would have been easier to stay silent. You were planning to commit fraud, Maya said quietly. I couldn't let that happen. No, you couldn't, he agreed, and that is precisely why I want to hire you. I have built an empire on being smarter, faster, and more ruthless than my competitors. But last night you showed me something I had forgotten. There is power in honesty. There is strength in integrity. And there is value in someone who will tell me the truth, even when it costs them everything. Maya stared at him, searching for the trap. What exactly are you offering? A position as my linguistic and cultural consultant. You would accompany me to international meetings, translate not just words but context and cultural nuances, advise me on negotiation strategies. I do business in 17 countries. I need someone who understands not just language but people. And the salary. He named a figure that made Maya's head spin. It was more than she had ever imagined earning, even as a professor. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this? Sheikh Khalid was quiet for a moment, his dark eyes studying her. Because you reminded me of someone I used to be before power made me forget. And because I think you could teach me to be that person again. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. I don't trust easily anymore. Neither do I, he said. But perhaps that's why this could work. What do you say, Maya Chen? Will you take a chance on a reformed billionaire? She thought of her tiny apartment, her stolen research, her destroyed dreams. She thought of Richard's smug face when he had published her work as his own. She thought of 2 years serving tables, invisible and forgotten. "Yes," Maya said. "I'll take the chance." The next 3 weeks transformed Maya's life completely. Sheikh Khalid was demanding but fair, expecting excellence but providing every resource she needed. They traveled to Dubai, Singapore and Tokyo, where Maya's linguistic skills and cultural insights proved invaluable. She didn't just translate words, she translated intention, reading body language and cultural cues that Khalid had been missing for years. In Singapore, she caught a potential partner lying about manufacturing capabilities by noticing inconsistencies in his Mandarin dialect. In Tokyo, she helped Khalid avoid a major cultural offense by explaining the nuances of Japanese business hierarchy. In Dubai, she translated a complex negotiation between Khalid and a Russian oil magnate, catching subtle threats hidden in seemingly polite conversation. Khalid watched her work with growing respect. She was brilliant, insightful, and unafraid to challenge him when she thought he was wrong. Slowly, something shifted between them. The professional distance began to blur into something more personal. They shared late-night conversations about philosophy and ethics. They debated business strategies over room service dinners. They laughed together, argued together, and slowly began to trust each other. But Maya's past wasn't finished with her yet. They were back in New York, preparing for a major conference on renewable energy, when Maya received an email that made her blood run cold. The sender was Richard Chen. "Maya, I know what you're doing. Working for Sheikh al-Rashid, traveling the world, pretending to be someone important. Don't forget that I destroyed your career once. I can do it again. Stay away from the academic world, or I'll make sure everyone knows you're a fraud who couldn't handle the pressure of real research. You're nothing but a failed student playing dress-up with a billionaire's money. Remember your place." Maya's hands shook as she read the email. All the confidence she had built over the past weeks crumbled. Richard was right. She was a fraud, a waitress pretending to be a consultant, a failed academic playing in a world where she didn't belong. She didn't realize she was crying until Khalid's voice broke through her spiral. "Maya, what's wrong?" They were in his suite at the Peninsula, reviewing documents for tomorrow's conference. Khalid crossed the room quickly, his expression concerned. "What happened?" Maya tried to hide her phone, but he gently took it from her hands. His face darkened as he read the email. "Who is this man to you?" he asked quietly, though Maya suspected he already knew. "My ex-fiancé, the one who stole my doctoral thesis and published it as his own work. Dr. Richard Chen. He's a professor at NYU now, using my research to build his career." Khalid's jaw tightened. "And he threatens you still?" "He's right, though," Maya said, wiping her eyes. "I am a fraud. I'm not a real consultant. I'm just a waitress you felt sorry for. I don't belong in this world. Stop." Khalid's voice was sharp. He sat beside her, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me carefully, Maya Chen. You are the most intelligent, capable person I have worked with in 20 years of business. You have saved me from 3 bad deals, helped me close 5 successful negotiations, and taught me more about international relations in 3 weeks than I learned in a decade. You are not a fraud. You are extraordinary. But Richard is a thief and a coward who is threatened by your success," Khalid interrupted. "He sees you rising again and fears you will expose him. That is why he attacks you." Maya wanted to believe him, but years of self-doubt were hard to overcome. "What can I do? He has all the power. He's a respected professor. I'm nobody." Khalid smiled, and there was something dangerous in it. "You are not nobody. You are under my protection now. And I am very good at destroying men who threaten what is mine." The possessiveness in his tone should have alarmed Maya, but instead it made her feel safe for the first time in years. "What are you suggesting?" she asked. "I'm suggesting we fight back. I'm suggesting we expose him for the fraud he is. I'm suggesting we take back what he stole from you." Khalid pulled out his phone. "I have investigators, lawyers, resources you cannot imagine. If you want justice, Maya, I will help you get it. But you have to be willing to fight." Maya thought of 2 years of silence, of hiding, of letting Richard win. She thought of her stolen research, her destroyed dreams, her lost career. She thought of the girl she used to be, before betrayal taught her to be small. "Yes," she said firmly. "I want to fight." "Good," Khalid said. "Then we begin tomorrow. But first you need to understand something. He took her hand, his touch warm and steady. This is not charity. This is not pity. You have earned your place in my world through your own merit. Richard Chen is about to learn that he made a grave mistake when he underestimated you. For the first time since receiving the email, Maya smiled. Thank you, Khalid. You're welcome, Maya. Now let's destroy the man who tried to destroy you. Khalid's investigators were thorough and discreet. Within 48 hours, they had compiled a dossier on Dr. Richard Chen that made Maya's stomach turn. Her case wasn't isolated. Richard had a pattern of stealing work from talented students, particularly women and international students who lacked the resources to fight back. There was Jennifer Park, a Korean student whose research on linguistic patterns in diplomatic negotiations had become Richard's first published paper. There was Ahmed Hassan, an Egyptian doctoral candidate whose work on Middle Eastern economic policy had launched Richard's academic reputation. There was Sofia Rodriguez, a Mexican student whose thesis on cross-border trade agreements had won Richard a prestigious award. 4 students. 4 stolen careers. 4 people too afraid or too powerless to speak up. He's been doing this for 6 years, Maya said, reading through the files in Khalid's suite. How did no one notice? People notice what they want to notice, Khalid replied grimly. And universities protect their own, especially when those people bring in research grants and prestige. But we have something they don't. What's that? Proof timestamps on original documents, email trails, witness testimonies. And most importantly, we have you, someone willing to stand up publicly and tell the truth. Maya's hands trembled as she held the files. If I do this, if I go public, Richard will destroy me. He has connections, reputation, power. And I have more, Khalid said simply. Maya, I cannot force you to do this. But I can promise you that if you choose to fight, you will not fight alone. I will provide lawyers, investigators, media contacts, whatever you need. Richard Chen has spent 6 years building a career on stolen work. It's time that career came crashing down. Maya looked at the files again, at the faces of the other students Richard had victimized. They deserve justice too. They deserve to have their work recognized, their names cleared, their careers restored. There's a conference next week, Maya said slowly. The International Symposium on Cross-Cultural Communication. Richard is the keynote speaker. He's presenting new research on negotiation strategies in multilingual business environments. Khalid's eyes sharpened. Research that sounds remarkably similar to your doctoral thesis. Because it is my thesis, Maya said, anger finally replacing fear. He's been expanding on my work for 6 years, publishing papers, giving speeches, building his entire career on my research. And next week, he's going to stand on that stage and accept an award for academic excellence using work he stole from me. Not if we stop him first, Khalid said. What do you need? Maya's mind was already racing, planning, strategizing. This was what she had trained for at Columbia. Complex negotiations, strategic communication, understanding how to navigate power structures. She had let Richard make her forget her own capabilities. Not anymore. I need to contact the other victims. Jennifer, Ahmed, Sophia. If we all come forward together with evidence, it's not just one disgruntled ex-student. It's a pattern of academic fraud. My investigators can locate them, Khalid offered. I need copies of all original work, time-stamped, verified, legally documented. We need to prove beyond doubt that our work predates his publications. My lawyers will handle it, and I need to be at that conference. I need to confront him publicly, in front of his peers where he can't hide or make excuses. Khalid smiled, proud and fierce. That I can definitely arrange. Maya, are you sure you're ready for this? Once we start, there's no going back. Richard will fight dirty. Maya thought of the past 2 years. The shame, the silence, the small apartment in Queens, the invisible uniform of a waitress. She thought of the girl she used to be, brilliant and confident before betrayal taught her to hide. I'm ready, she said firmly. It's time Richard Chen learned that stealing from the wrong person has consequences. Over the next week, Khalid's team worked with military precision. They located Jennifer Park, now working as a translator in Los Angeles, her academic dreams abandoned. They found Ahmed Hassan, who had returned to Egypt and was teaching high school, his research career destroyed. They tracked down Sofia Rodriguez, working in a law firm in Miami, her thesis gathering dust. One by one, Maya contacted them. One by one they agreed to join her. They had all been silent for too long, all been too afraid, all been too powerless, but together, with evidence and resources and a billionaire's backing, they had a chance. The legal team compiled everything. Original drafts with metadata showing creation dates, email exchanges between the students and Richard, witness testimonies from other professors who had seen the original work, forensic analysis of writing styles and research methodologies. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable. Through it all, Khalid stayed by Maya's side. He sat with her during late-night strategy sessions. He held her when the stress became too much. He reminded her of her strength when doubt crept in. And slowly, Maya realized that what had started as a professional relationship had become something much deeper. One evening, 3 days before the conference, they sat on the balcony of Khalid's suite, watching the sun set over Central Park. Maya was reviewing her speech for the 100th time, but Khalid gently took the papers from her hands. "You're ready," he said softly. "You've been ready since the moment you chose to speak up in that restaurant." "I'm terrified," Maya admitted. "What if no one believes us? What if Richard finds a way to discredit us? What if—" Khalid silenced her with a finger against her lips. "Then we fight harder. Maya, I have faced down oil cartels, corrupt governments, and corporate espionage. I have never met anyone as strong as you. You survived betrayal, rebuilt your life from nothing, and chose integrity over safety. You are going to walk into that conference and show the academic world exactly who Dr. Richard Chen really is. And I will be right there beside you." Maya looked at him. This powerful, complicated man who had started as her enemy and become her greatest ally. "Why are you doing this, Khalid, really?" He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching hers. "Because you made me want to be a better man. Because you showed me that power without integrity is worthless. Because somewhere along the way I stopped seeing you as an employee and started seeing you as—" He paused, seeming to struggle with words. "As someone I cannot imagine my life without." Maya's breath caught. "Khalid, I know this is complicated," he continued. "I know I am not an easy man. I know I have made many mistakes in my life. But you, Maya Chen, you are the best thing I have done in a very long time. And I will spend every day proving that I deserve your trust." Maya felt tears slide down her cheeks, but they were different tears than before. Not tears of pain or shame, but tears of hope and possibility. "I trust you," she whispered. "I don't know when it happened, but I do." "I trust you, Khalid." He pulled her close, and Maya let herself lean into his strength. Tomorrow they would prepare for battle. But tonight, she allowed herself to feel safe, protected, and perhaps even loved. The International Symposium on Cross-Cultural Communication was held at the Javits Center, a massive convention space filled with academics, researchers, and business leaders from around the world. Dr. Richard Chen was scheduled to give the keynote address at 2 o'clock, followed by an awards ceremony, recognizing his contributions to the field. Maya arrived at 1:30, dressed in a tailored navy suit that Khalid had insisted on buying her. She looked professional, confident, powerful. Everything Richard had tried to make her forget she was. Jennifer, Ahmed, and Sophia were already there, looking nervous but determined. Khalid stood slightly apart, his presence commanding attention even in a room full of distinguished professors. "Are you ready?" Jennifer asked, her voice shaking slightly. "We're ready," Maya corrected. "We do this together." At 2 o'clock, Richard took the stage. He looked exactly as Maya remembered, handsome in a polished way, confident, charming. He smiled at the audience, completely unaware of what was about to happen. "Thank you all for being here today," Richard began, his voice smooth and practiced. "I'm honored to speak about my research on negotiation strategies in multilingual business environments, work that has consumed the past 6 years of my academic career." Maya felt Khalid's hand squeeze hers briefly, a silent gesture of support. Then she stood and began walking toward the stage. Jennifer, Ahmed, and Sophia followed. The audience murmured in confusion as 4 people approached the podium. Richard's smile faltered when he saw Maya. His face went pale, then flushed with anger. "Excuse me, this is a closed presentation." "Hello, Richard," Maya said, her voice clear and steady, amplified by the microphone. "I believe we need to have a conversation about your research, specifically about where it really came from." The room erupted in whispers. Richard tried to maintain his composure. Maya, this is inappropriate. I'm in the middle of a presentation. A presentation about work you stole from me, Maya interrupted. She turned to the audience. My name is Maya Chen. 6 years ago, I was Dr. Chen's doctoral student at NYU. I wrote a thesis on cross-cultural negotiation strategies, the same research he has built his entire career on, the same research he is presenting today as his own work. That's absurd, Richard said, but his voice lacked conviction. Maya was my student, yes, but she couldn't handle the rigor of doctoral work. She dropped out. I didn't drop out, Maya said firmly. You stole my thesis, published it under your name, and then destroyed my academic reputation, so I couldn't fight back. But I'm not alone, she gestured to the others. Jennifer Park, Ahmed Hassan, Sophia Rodriguez. 4 students whose work you stole. 4 careers you destroyed. 4 people you thought were too powerless to stop you. The audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. Richard's face had gone from pale to red to pale again. This is slander. I'll have you arrested. With what evidence? Khalid's voice cut through the room as he stood. Because we have quite a lot of evidence. Original drafts with timestamps predating your publications. Email exchanges. Witness testimonies. Forensic analysis of writing styles. Would you like to see it? On cue, the presentation screen behind Richard lit up with documents. Side-by-side comparisons of the student's original work and Richard's published papers. Metadata showing creation dates. Emails where Richard had requested revisions that were actually him copying their work. The evidence was damning and irrefutable. Richard stared at the screen, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. You can't do this, he whispered. You have no right. We have every right, Maya said. You stole our work, our careers, our futures. You built your reputation on lies and fraud. And today, in front of your peers, we're taking it all back. The symposium director rushed onto the stage, his face ashen. Security guards appeared, though it was unclear who they were meant to protect. The audience was in chaos, some people shouting questions, others already on their phones spreading the news. Richard looked at Maya, and for the first time, she saw fear in his eyes. Maya, please. We can work this out. I can explain. There's nothing to explain, Maya said coldly. You're a fraud, Richard. And now everyone knows it. As security escorted Richard from the stage, Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. 6 years of silence, of shame, of believing she was worthless, all of it dissolved in that moment. She had fought back. She had won. The symposium director approached them, apologizing profusely, promising a full investigation. Other professors came forward, some offering support, others admitting they had suspected something was wrong but hadn't spoken up. The 4 students stood together, finally vindicated, finally free. Khalid waited until the chaos subsided, then approached Maya. How do you feel? Like I can breathe again, Maya said, smiling through tears. Like I'm finally myself again. You were always yourself, Khalid said gently. You just needed to remember. The aftermath was swift and brutal for Richard Chen. Within 48 hours, NYU launched a formal investigation. Within a week, he was suspended without pay. Within 2 weeks, every paper he had published was under review. Within a month, he was fired, his doctorate revoked, and facing criminal charges for academic fraud. The 4 students he had victimized were offered full reinstatement of their academic credentials, public apologies, and financial compensation. Jennifer Park was offered a position at Stanford. Ahmed Hassan received a research grant to continue his work on Middle Eastern economic policy. Sophia Rodriguez was recruited by Harvard Law School, and Maya Chen received offers from 7 universities, including a tenured professorship at Columbia University, the institution where her academic journey had begun. She sat in Khalid's suite, staring at the offer letter from Columbia, feeling surreal. They want me to head a new department on international communication and cultural strategy. Of course they do, Khalid said, pouring them both champagne. You're brilliant. They would be fools not to want you. I never thought I'd get this chance again, Maya admitted. I thought Richard had destroyed it forever. He tried, Khalid said. But he underestimated your strength. And your stubbornness, he smiled. Will you accept? Maya looked at the letter, then at Khalid. What about you? What about my work as your consultant? Khalid set down his glass and took her hands. Maya, I hired you because I needed someone to translate languages and navigate cultural differences. But what I found was so much more. You didn't just help me with business. You changed how I do business. You made me question my methods, my ethics, my entire approach to power. You made me want to be worthy of your respect. You are worthy, Maya said softly. I'm trying to be, Khalid replied, which is why I'm not going to ask you to choose between your career and working for me. You deserve to return to academia, to teach, to research, to reclaim everything Richard stole from you. That is your path, Maya. I won't stand in the way of it. Maya felt her heart clench. So this is goodbye? No, Khalid said firmly. This is me asking if you'll let me be part of your life in a different way. Not as your employer, but as... He paused, seeming uncertain for the first time since she'd met him. As someone who loves you. As someone who wants to support your dreams, not own them. As someone who hopes that maybe, possibly, you might feel the same way. Maya's breath caught. You love me? Desperately, Khalid admitted. I know I'm not easy. I know I'm arrogant and controlling and used to getting my way. I know I come with complications. Businesses in 17 countries, a life that spans continents, responsibilities that never end. But I also know that I have never met anyone like you. You make me want to be better, do better, live better. You make me believe that integrity and success can coexist. You make me feel like the man I always wanted to be but forgot how to become. Tears streamed down Maya's face. I love you too, she whispered. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Maybe when you fought for me when no one else would. Maybe when you showed me that power can be used for good, not just for control. But I love you, Khalid. Completely. He pulled her close, kissing her with a tenderness that contradicted his powerful exterior. When they finally broke apart, both were smiling. So what do we do now? Maya asked. You're based in Dubai. I'll be teaching in New York. How do we make this work? We figure it out, Khalid said simply. I can work from anywhere. I can split my time between Dubai and New York. I can build a life that includes you, not one that requires you to sacrifice your dreams. We'll make it work because we both want it to work. You'd do that? Restructure your entire life? Maya, you restructured my entire soul, Khalid said seriously. Changing my schedule is easy by comparison. Maya laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. Okay, yes, let's try. Let's build something together. A partnership, Khalid said. A real one, equal, honest, built on respect and trust. And love, Maya added. And love, he agreed. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of her first class at Columbia University. The lecture hall was full of eager students, notebooks open, eyes bright with anticipation. She wore a professional suit, her hair pulled back, her posture confident. She was Professor Maya Chen now, head of the Department of International Communication and Cultural Strategy. Welcome to Cross-Cultural Negotiation Strategies, she began, her voice clear and strong. This course will challenge everything you think you know about communication, power and ethics in international business. We'll study real cases, analyze complex negotiations, and most importantly, we'll discuss the role of integrity in a world that often rewards ruthlessness over honesty. As she spoke, she noticed a familiar figure slip into the back of the lecture hall. Khalid, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, trying to be inconspicuous and failing completely. He caught her eye and smiled, proud and supportive. Maya smiled back, then continued her lecture. Let me tell you a story about a waitress and a billionaire, and how one moment of choosing truth over safety changed both of their lives forever. The students leaned forward, captivated. Maya felt a surge of joy and purpose. This was where she belonged. This was who she was meant to be. Not invisible, not silent, not small but powerful in her own right, using her voice to teach, to inspire, to change minds. After class, Khalid waited for her outside the lecture hall. That was incredible, he said, kissing her cheek. Your students are lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them, Maya replied. And lucky to have you? Always, Khalid promised. Though I have to admit, watching you command a room like that is extremely attractive, Maya laughed. You're ridiculous. I'm in love, he corrected. There's a difference. They walked across campus together, hand in hand, two people from completely different worlds who had found common ground in truth, integrity, and unexpected love. Maya's phone buzzed with a message from Jennifer Park, now thriving at Stanford, sharing news of her latest research publication. Ahmed had sent a photo from Cairo, where he was teaching at the American University. Sophia had forwarded an article about new international trade policies she had helped draft. 4 students who had been silenced were now using their voices to change the world. And Richard Chen was facing trial for academic fraud, his career and reputation destroyed by the truth he had tried so hard to bury. Justice, Maya thought, wasn't always swift. But when it came, it was absolute. "What are you thinking about?" Khalid asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. "About how one moment can change everything," Maya said. "About how choosing to speak up in that restaurant led to all of this. My career restored," Richard exposed. "Us together." "If I had stayed silent," "But you didn't," Khalid said firmly. "You chose courage over safety. You chose truth over comfort. You chose to be seen instead of invisible. That's who you are, Maya Chen. That's who you've always been." Maya squeezed his hand. "And you chose to listen. You chose to change. You chose to be better. That's who you are, Khalid al-Rashid." "We chose each other," Khalid said simply. Everything else followed from that. They reached the edge of campus where Khalid's car waited. He had a meeting in an hour, then a flight to Dubai tomorrow. But he would be back next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. They had built a life together that spanned continents, but remained rooted in trust, respect, and love. "I'll see you Friday?" Maya asked. "Friday," Khalid confirmed. "I'll bring dinner. You bring the brilliant conversation." "Deal." He kissed her goodbye, long and sweet, then reluctantly pulled away. "I love you, Professor Chen. I love you too, Sheikh al-Rashid." Maya watched him drive away, then turned back toward campus. She had office hours in 20 minutes, then a faculty meeting, then dinner with colleagues. Her life was full, purposeful, exactly what she had always dreamed it would be. As she walked, she passed the Azure Room restaurant, where everything had begun. Through the window, she could see servers moving between tables, invisible to the powerful people they served. Maya remembered being one of them, remembered the uniform, the silence, the feeling of being unseen, but she also remembered the moment she chose to be seen. The moment she chose to speak. The moment she chose truth over safety. That moment had changed everything. Maya smiled and continued walking, her head held high, her future bright, her voice finally, permanently, her own. The end.